What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Riding Dad channel video, or welcome if it's your first time. Either way, glad to have you. We got dyno sheets today. You guys already know what the video is about, and you saw the thumbnail. Let's roll the intro and we'll get into what these numbers mean.
Riding Dad YouTube channel, it's the Riding Dad YouTube channel, it's the Riding Dad YouTube channel, it's the Riding Dad.
All right, so for those of you that are familiar with the channel or familiar with my build or anything, well, either way, I guess I'm gonna run through it anyway to recap because it's been through a lot of changes in the past 2 years. So, according to Harley's terminology, stage 1 versus stage 2, stage 1 is basically just an air filter, air cleaner, and an exhaust. Stage 2 is a cam, like a cam kit and everything, obviously plus the stage 2 stuff. So when I first got it with just the stage 1 stuff, I had a TBR Comp S exhaust and I had the Trask Assault air cleaner, and that was running at 91.9 horsepower and 109.5 foot-pounds of torque. And this is the 114 engine. So then I did the cam. I kept the TBR Comp S exhaust 2-in-1, and then I also kept the Trask Assault. I went with a Jim's V-Twin 821 cam, 5.5 injectors, I think. What was it, 5.5? 5.5 injectors, yeah, and then obviously some other goodies, but nothing that affects number-wise. After the tune for that setup, I was at 118 for horsepower, almost 118.5, just shy of a half, and then 125.3 foot-pounds of torque. So I went up about 15 foot-pounds of torque and about 28, 27 horsepower. Pretty good. Those of you that are keeping track of the build, I somewhat recently put on a Trask exhaust. Everybody knows, or should have heard at least at some point, that the TBR exhausts are trash talked. Their quality control is not great, their finish is not great, they're known, or prone at least, to have leaks. Thankfully, I never had air leaks with mine, at least that I was aware of. I didn't see any issues. My tuner didn't see any issues with it. My tuner said even had he not done anything with the charts or anything like that, he would have assumed that the TBR was not a great performing exhaust given its length, given its header design, and just given its overall construction and stuff, and just everything that he's heard as well. So, granted, those were pretty decent numbers. What we went ahead and did was change out that exhaust. We went with the Trask exhaust, kept the Trask air filter on the air cleaner, and then I went ahead and, before I got a retune, I went ahead and went with the S&S 55 millimeter intake manifold. Did not get it poured or polished or anything like that, but I was running the stock intake before, so theoretically should have been better, if not just exactly the same. Went ahead and brought it back for a tune. I was expecting 1 to 2 horsepower, 1 to 2 foot-pounds of torque, just given that I replaced a supposedly really bad exhaust, the TBR, with a Trask exhaust, and then replaced the intake manifold with the S&S intake manifold. The best numbers he was able to get was 118 horsepower and 124 foot-pounds of torque. So, and I'll put them up on the screen for you. There was a little bit more of a torque curve as far as where the RPMs are, kind of torque curve around the 3,000 mark, a little bit more, and he was having a real big issue trying to get that torque curve out of there. So that was what we ended up with. While we were there, my buddy was getting a 128 put on his Street Glide, which we will do a whole video. I think it's going to be the video after this, either 1 or 2 after this. So there'll be a video kind of capping all over that. And pretty cool that that bike is going to be featured in some other install build series videos on this channel, because he's coming over here and we're going to do the work together. So that'll be pretty cool for you guys to see. So anyway, like I was saying, he was having a 128 kit put in. He had a Trask Assault air cleaner on his bike as well. My tuner was having issues with his bike. He had a Vance & Hines Pro Pipe for exhaust and some other goodies, which I don't have the build sheet in front of me, so I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, we'll cover that on his build video when we kind of recap it all. However, the tuner was assuming that possibly there was an issue with the air filter, because just by looking at it, it was just very thick. He wound up taking, just for kind of craps and laughs. It's the best way I can say that without having a monetization issue. Just for the heck of it, took that filter element off, but kept all the hardware like the backing plate, the adapter plate, kept everything on, but just took the filter element off, and it brought his build up substantial. I think it was somewhere around like 8 to 10 horsepower, 8 to 10 torque, just by taking that air filter off. Mine was currently at the shop still getting the bugs worked out of that torque curve. So I said, hey, if you don't mind, I'm gonna wind up buying a new exhaust, because obviously nothing else changed really. Nothing else changed, and with the exhaust, my numbers pretty much stayed exactly the same, if not went down by 1. So I wasn't super happy with it. So he wound up taking my filter element off my Trask, and my numbers went, I'm sorry, these are the numbers that we're gonna talk about now. So he took that element off, and my numbers basically went back up to where they were with the TBR pipe, which is this 118 and 124 is without that filter element for whatever reason. So I wish in a perfect world I could have still had the TBR, and I would have been able to swap out the Trask Assault air filter for the DK Customs, which I currently have on there, and I would have been able to see a very clear apples to apples comparison. Unfortunately, we don't have that, but what I do know is that everything else stayed the same. Pretty much everything stayed the same with the exception of the exhaust, and I went down in numbers a little bit, and I had worse of a torque curve, a torque dip, basically. Not curve, is dip is the best word for it. So that was, granted, there's still decent numbers for just kind of a typical stage 2, like just the cam job on a 114. Still not really bad numbers, but knowing that I had more with a $300 less expensive exhaust that everybody talks crap about just did not sit well with me. So obviously, I'm an impulse buyer. I went ahead, and if you guys saw the videos, I put a DK Custom 606 air cleaner on there, and I went ahead and did a Fab 28 / FXR Division collab exhaust pipe with stepped headers and everything. Pipe looks awesome. I like that. Not a lot of people have it. It's just different. The sound is a little bit quieter than the Trask. I would just barely quiet, more deeper and less, I guess, in your face in the Trask. So if you're somebody that really cares about the sound profile, just keep that in mind when we're talking about this. But on a stage 2, like anything with the cam for the Harleys, everything's gonna be way louder anyway, and they're gonna sound very, very similar, especially for all these shorter type 2-into-1 exhaust setups. They sound super similar to the TBR exhaust also. So just keep that in mind. So I brought it back with the DK Customs air cleaner and the Fab 28, and now I am making 119.8, so just shy of 120 horsepower, and 125.8, so just shy of 126 torque. So if you compare that to the old TBR setup, which was 118.5 and 125.1, I'm making 1.5 more horsepower and pretty much a half more foot-pounds of torque. Now granted, these are all good numbers again still, but just upsetting to know that, because this exhaust setup is about $600 or $700 more than the TBR was at the time that I bought it. The air cleaner is about $250, $300 cheaper than the Trask, so that is good. But just kind of upsetting that all this changes. You know, when you change stuff and you expect big improvement, or at least a small improvement, but an easy improvement kind of thing. And that's kind of where we're at. I'm in the middle of debating on putting the Trask Assault air cleaner back on, just knowing what I had with the TBR and that was on it with the TBR. So I'm in the middle of kind of deciding what I want to do with that. Currently all my stuff is not back from powder coat yet, and if I do, I'm going to send parts of that Trask air cleaner out for the powder coating stuff. So that kind of wraps everything up. What's the moral of the story? There really is none. The moral, I guess, is you got to pay to play with Harley stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have a dyno in my garage, so I can't take parts on and off easily and do it. And unfortunately, I mean, I have a good relationship with my tuner, but he's not going to let me take up shop time and bring all my tools over there, or use his and be like, oh, hold on, give me 45, 50 minutes. Let me replace this entire air cleaner setup and, you know, kind of go back. I have to bring it back to him and all that kind of stuff. And also my tuner's like 40, 45 minutes away. And by the time I get off work and he's open, the traffic sucks. So it makes it almost close to an hour getting over there. So, it's disappointing that things don't do what we want and or think they will do. The exhaust setup, I am happy with that. Like I said, the air cleaner setup is the only thing I'm on the fence about, because arguably the Trask Assault air cleaner looks the best, bar none. It just looks the best. It is what it is. The only other possibility that I'm looking at is the T-Man air cleaner, which is going to set me back several $100s again. The T-Man air cleaner looks different. It's a big, circular air cleaner. The other good part, I guess, or oval air cleaner, and it's got a clear window. It's pretty much the only other clear window besides the Fuel Moto stuff. But I've heard when you get into the bigger horsepower builds, the Fuel Moto / SNS Stealth, that kind of setup just doesn't perform as high. So part of me wants to leave the 606 on here because it is, as of right now, what I've seen, one of the best air cleaners one of the best performing air cleaners, for these M8s, as far as like dyno charts and everything go. Just doesn't look the coolest, and that's what I'm getting internally. It's upsetting because the Trask did looked killer. I don't know. That's what it is, guys. Take it with a grain of salt. Take it for whatever you want with your builds. Like I said, again, we're ending up with almost just shy of 120 horsepower and just shy of 126 foot-pounds of torque with just a drop-in cam from Jim's V-Twin. So those numbers are good. We didn't have to change any valves or anything like that. Or valve springs, not valves. Of course, you don't change the valves. We didn't change any valve springs. Nothing crazy. I don't know, guys. The numbers are good. It's like, could I have had more or the same if I just kept the TBR? It's one of those annoying things. So in the future, I probably will be going with a big bore kit anyway, and I might be changing some different stuff. When I go with the big bore kit, I might, just for the heck of it, put the Trask air cleaner back on with the different inlet. Why can't I never think of the velocity stack insert? With the different velocity stack insert to accommodate for what I'm assuming I will be going with at the time is the 64 millimeter HPI throttle body and intake manifold, kind of 2-in-1 unit. And we'll see what numbers we get. If I get good numbers at that point, I might leave it like that. I don't know, I might bring it back and have the 606 put back on. I don't know, guys. It's a never-ending build. That's why we get these Harleys, because they're like Lego sets. You can do a million different things to them a million different times, and it never gets old. And there's always new stuff on the market. There's always new data behind things and everything. So, like I said, I'll put it up again. I'll put the final sheet up on the screen just so you can see where the torque curve is. It is somewhat minimal. But this is a horsepower cam, and I said that when I did my stage 2 build, when I put the cam in, it kicks in around the 4 to 4.5. That's like where the sweet spot is, which is why, again, more data that these M8s do not like lugging RPMs. They like higher RPMs, and then it brought my rev limiter, right around to the 6.5-ish. What is it stock? It's about 5.5 stock, so gained right around, just under 1,000, which is kind of typical for a cam job when you get a tune on it. So don't forget to like this video, please. I really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. Check out my Instagram, my TikTok, all that stuff. TikTok I barely post, but I guess check it out if you're there. Instagram, easiest way to contact me or ask me a question or just say, hey, or whatever. It's the easiest way, obviously, to have a conversation. Please comment on this video. Tell me what you think of this. Is this confusing? Does it make sense to you? What are your experiences? All that jazz. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Turn on post notifications. Check out all the links in the description. Watch the videos at the end of this. And until the next time, guys, ride safe, have fun. Dad.